What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things box. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so that you can get notified of all the latest content that comes out on the channel. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're now talking today about Dillian Whyte's recent comments about 3 days ago. I think these have been made on Boxing Scene. And yeah, he made some very strong remarks about Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury. And I think the title of the article was Dillian Whyte says that Fury's biggest skill is conning the public. And what I'm going to do in this one, I'm going to go through a few things that Dillian Whyte said in this interview and just talk about whether or not I think he actually has a point. And that's what I want from you guys as well. You know, what do you think about this? You know, do you think Dillian Whyte has a point? But we'll go to his remarks now. So the first thing that I got here that he said was that, I'll just read this one. Fury knew that this fight was dying on its ass and pulled out. They couldn't give a ticket away as Brits were not traveling and none of the TV companies were bothered about another 5 a.m. fight against a bloke he has already beaten. And this is what Dillian Whyte told the Sun newspaper some days ago. So again, here on this point, this has been speculated also, I think, by Eddie Hearn, that, you know, the tickets were not selling for this fight. So this was something that they needed to just dead it, you know, just reschedule it, do something, because they couldn't give a ticket away. So White here is pointing out, look, this fight, it wasn't selling, they couldn't sell any tickets, so at the end of the day, Fury knew that this fight was dead, so he's using this whole thing as a cop-out. That's one of those things that, you know, I can't confirm or deny. If he claims if he says he's got COVID, we can only just sort of take his word for it. But I do get the idea that yes, there were problems selling tickets, and he's dead right about the TV situation, because over here in the UK, you know, you would think with Tyson Fury being a star, being, you know, probably our top heavyweight, although I think he's still got it to prove against a guy, a Joshua and whatnot. But yeah, basically he's our sort of top heavyweight over here, probably number one in most lists. And but when it came to TV, there were no TV channels advertising this. BT Sport, nothing from them. Sky Sports, nothing from them. Obviously, they can't go with DAZN or anything, but in this UK, none of the terrestrial, ITV, BBC. So he's right on that. Look, there were no TV networks that were going to show the fight. If anything, it would probably have to go onto some sort of online platform like FIT, like Fight Network or something. So yeah, I think I agree with White there that probably, yes, tickets weren't selling so well, and, you know, as this fight is quite hard sell. And he goes on to say that, yeah, money is everything to Fury. Where's the 7 million that? Because Fury, I think in one of the Wilder fights, promised he's going to donate the purse to charity. And White says, yeah, where is this 7 million? You know, all he cares about is money. Tyson Fury talks a lot of bleep, you know, and people just lap it up. You know, he goes on to say here, Tyson has the entire heavyweight boxing scene all around the whole world. And he says that the sport, Dillian Whyte believes at least, the sport is struggling because of the Tyson Fury, you know, because he's not had this follow-up fight, you know, he's not had to Joshua. And he said that, look, when the heavyweights are buzzing, the whole sport thrives. And when it's rubbish, the whole sport suffers. And in a sense, you know, that is a valid point, because obviously, in a sense, you had the Klitschko era prior to this, where they couldn't even get their fights televised in America for a lot of their careers. All HBO, all these networks sort of turned down their fights, and then it kind of lessened the interest in the sport. And it's true, when the heavyweight division is thriving, historically speaking as well, when you've got good heavyweights and, you know, a good healthy heavyweight scene, then boxing thrives. Just like when AJ come on the picture, people start getting into it. When Mike Tyson back in the days, even when Tyson Fury made his comeback, it kind of makes things thrive. And when you get a good heavyweight division, then the divisions below, more money comes into that, and boxing becomes more healthy. So I do see what he's saying there, and he goes on to say, losing the AJ versus Fury fight has F boxing because casual fans, they just see big fights not happening, and they just see people at the top lying to them and fighting bums instead, probably referring to some of Tyson Fury's opponents, like in between the two Wilder fights, and prior to that. So I see what White's saying here, because a lot of people even say that that's why they no longer watch boxing. They no longer watch it. They go and watch the UFC, where the best fight the best, because the UFC obviously it is a company within mixed martial arts, but to many people, UFC is mixed martial arts. It is the entire sport. So all they watch is UFC, and with the UFC, because you've got that one man at the top, basically, sort of deciding who's going to fight each other, and Dana White and those guys, they do make the best fight the best. If you don't want to fight the best, then you better get out of the UFC. That's how they run it. They run it in a way that, look, okay, money wise, I think boxing, you'll stand to make more money if you're at the top, but in terms of the best fighting the best, the UFC do that very well. So I understand what he's saying here, that if you're talking about casual fans, in order to keep the fans in, you gotta have the best fighting the best. You can't have fights like Fury and AJ, which would have been one of the biggest fights in decades. Two Brits for undisputed. This would have been a huge worldwide fight that would have done millions. They look at what the Saudis offered. I mean, they don't offer that sort of money if the fight's not going to generate that sort of money. You notice that they don't offer that. The Saudis and all these countries don't give these big site fee deals to just any old fight. They give it to the biggest fights and the fights that are going to generate the most money. And that's how you know that Fury Joshua was going to be massive. They, 70 something million each. And as White says here, that look, with the casual fans, they want to see the big fights. And when they don't see the big fights being made, and they're just getting messed around, and this has been cancelled, and we're not getting Fury Joshua now, we're getting Wilder Fury again, it's a deflating thing, and it's not really what sort of the world of boxing fans want to see. It might be what some fans, if you're maybe diehard Wilder or diehard Fury or whatever, you might not worry. But in terms of the health of the whole sport, Joshua Fury was the one we wanted. So as he said, this will turn people off when the biggest fights don't happen, and he said, Fury is a nasty piece of work. His biggest skill is conning the public, because they always end up feeling sorry for him. Boxing is a joke right now. Every other sport is getting attention, and it's because he has now bleeped 2 of 3 of the biggest fights around the world. So again, I think it's one of them where he is speaking from a place of bitterness. He is speaking from a place of sort of anger there, where obviously he's not happy with Fury. He's had things where he said he's dropped Fury in sparring. So there's a bit of needle between these guys anyway. But I see what he's saying here. His skill is conning the public, because they always end up. Because I suppose with Tyson Fury here, he has got a cult following. He's got a big following that pretty much whatever he says is right, and he does have some fans who don't question anything he does. He can pull out a fight as well. He's got his reason. He's got like kind of a cult following to whom he can do no wrong. So I wouldn't say he sort of cons the entire public, because you'll have platforms, and you'll have people who will call him out. Some people in boxing will call him out and will say, look, what you're doing is wrong, etc., etc. So there are people who will speak their mind, but in terms of perhaps maybe his cult following or his fan base, maybe they won't call him out. So maybe in that respect, maybe he's conning them, but I wouldn't say he's conning everybody, because there's a lot of people who will say, nah, this is nonsense what he's doing. So yeah, and I feel what White's saying here, that every other sport is getting attention, getting more than boxing, and you know he's messed up two or three big fights, because obviously him now pulling out of Wilder, that kind of messes that up. Him pulling out of the Joshua fight, that messed up the Undisputed, which would have been a big deal. And I suppose I see what he's saying, because you got football getting big attention with the Euros. The best play the best in football. There's no choice about that. Same with tennis. All these sports, the best play the best. The best compete against the best. So with Fury Joshua not happening, that does mess it up, because boxing operates on a different level. And he goes on to say, if Fury fights in October, then he will have been out of the ring, not defending the WBC heavyweight title for 20 months, which is just shy of 2 years. That's almost 2 years. White goes on to say, yeah, this is criminal. He messed me around when he ordered by the WBC to fight me, and then for the diamond belt, which he asked me to fight for, because back in the days, Dillian Whyte wanted Tyson Fury. Fury said, all right, I'll fight you, but for the diamond belt, since Wilder won't fight you. He then pulled out of that, said, no, I'm not interested, I don't want to fight Dillian Whyte. So he did mess him about there. And yeah, I feel what he's saying here. I get what he's saying, because it is true that, okay, yeah, COVID-19's happened and everything, but Fury really hasn't defended the belt for nearly 2 years. And I think for the health of the sport, that's not a good thing. You know what I mean? It's not a good thing for a heavyweight champion to not be defending his belts. I think there were ways around it. Maybe they could have had a fight with a smaller crowd. Maybe they could have done what AJ done when he fought Pulev, something like that. So, you know, it's true. I think there's been a lot of messing about here, and I do understand where White is coming from. And he goes on to say, yep, he messed, after messing me about, he messed Joshua around on the Undisputed fight, and now he's messed Wilder around too, you know, on their rematch. So, which is true. And I think overall this is no good for the sport of boxing, because, you know, I was disappointed as a fan that we didn't get Undisputed. But to then not have to not have Undisputed, then to also not have Fury Wilder 3 and just clear that thing up once and for all. We don't even have that now. So, you know, I understand it is kind of bad news. And, you know, he goes on to say, the WBC is a prestigious belt, and he doesn't understand, but I don't understand how they can tolerate this guy taking a pee, you know, with their biggest belt. You know, it will only have been fought for 5 times in the last 4 years against 3 different opponents. You know, enough is enough. And what Dillian Whyte comes with as a solution is, he said, Fury should be made champion in recess, elevate me from interim champion to champion, and I will fight Wilder straight away. So he poses this as his solution, that since Fury's sick and he can't seem to get his act together, just elevate me to champion, him champion in recess. He says, I'll fight Wilder straight away. And if and when Fury is ever ready to fight, then he can fight the winner, which will be me. And then the winner of that, the rightful WBC champion, can fight AJ for all the belts. In 3 simple fights, you would know the real #1 undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. All this nonsense has to stop. So I do understand Dillian Whyte's perspective there. I don't think that's something that is realistic, that's going to happen because of the way things are in boxing. But I do think that it makes sense, because at the end of the day, he's right up there in the WBC rankings. He was more or less mandatory for a certain period. He was right up there at #1. So if they were to elevate him under the rule that, okay, we elevate you but you have to fight Deontay Wilder, that's quite fair to me, because if Wilder beat Fury, then the same thing would happen. He'd get back the WBC belt, and then obviously the winner of that could go on to face AJ. And I think Dillian Whyte, although many people are sort of against him here and have said, but Fury's better than you, blah, 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 I think he has a point here. He's high up in the WBC rankings. You know, he's the interim champion. This is a move that the WBC could do, and I think this would be a great move. Let him go up there as the champ, but he must fight Deontay Wilder. Let them have that fight. And then, you know, the winner, as he said, winner fights Fury, which is fair because that was going to happen anyway. And then the winner of that, rightful WBC champion, goes on, fights AJ for undisputed, and the whole thing sorted out. So, in a sense, while I don't think this is realistic or going to happen, I do believe that Dillian Whyte has a point here. He's WBC interim champ. He's very high in the rankings. If they did elevate him, he would fight Wilder because I think he wants to fight Wilder anyway. You get that out of the way, get a WBC champ, let Fury fight him, then let the winner fight AJ, and we've cleared it up. We've cleared up the heavyweight division and we've established number one. So that's my thoughts on it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out. I'll catch you on the next one.